Hi, my name is Sarah Tobin and welcome to your tapping workshop. Today I want to take you through what tapping is, where it came from, how it works, all about the flight, fight, freeze response in your body, and how to tap, all the steps you need to do this and how to incorporate it into your daily life. We're going to do a tapping script at the end on this topic of overwhelm. So overwhelm is something we can all relate to that crops up in our life from time to time. So I'm hoping that you'll be able to experience tapping and how it works and how you feel after you do some tapping. At the end, I'll provide you with a tapping script for this tapping that we've just done today. And I'll also provide you with a tapping script template. That template is something you can print off and use to create your own scripts and your own tapping for any topic and anything that you like. It's a really handy way to start practicing and getting used to the tapping technique. So let's get started. What is tapping? So tapping is otherwise known as EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique. This came out of America back in about the 80s, in 1980, and by a guy called Gary Craig, and he took an original healing modality called TFT, thought field therapy, and simplified it. He's also a Stanford engineer and an NLP practitioner. So he basically took something that existed already and made it really simple, and that's what we're going to go through today. Tapping works by sending a signal to your brain, to the amygdala in the center of your brain, which is the fear center, the center that puts you into the fight, flight, freeze response. So for those of you who don't know what this is, fight, flight, or freeze is what happens when you are confronted with a threat to your physical safety or a threat to your sense of self. Right now, so this has been recorded in August 2020, right now we have had 6 months of threats to our physical safety. Everyone in the world has had fear around their personal safety due to the coronavirus. So this is something we can all relate to. When the news came that we were physically being threatened, our bodies probably went into fight, flight, freeze. This is when the reptilian part of your brain governs your parasympathetic nervous system, and it just really kicks in the cortisol and adrenaline. And you probably know what that feels like. Your heart starts to pump, your stomach might feel a bit nauseous, you physically have a lot of energy, you're kind of getting ready to either fight or run. The blood's pumping around your body. It might be difficult to sleep, you're kind of wired. You're wired to move. The problem is, when we are in this state a lot of the time, and I can imagine a lot of us are feeling that in particular this year, we are overproducing the cortisol and the adrenaline, and it's not being used. So the cortisol and adrenaline in our body is not being used to physically remove ourselves from the situation, because we can't. It is everywhere and we have to stay home. So we are literally, our bodies and our cells are filled up with this hormone. On a good day, on a stress-free day, our cells are operating in perfect harmony. They are releasing toxins, they are growing, they are shedding, they are in rest, regeneration, and recovery. They are healthy cells doing what they normally do. As soon as we have a threat to our physical safety or a threat to our sense of self, our body kicks in the flight, fight, freeze response. Then the cells stop functioning like they do over here, and they purely function in the flight, flight, freeze mode. There is no double multitasking going on here, unfortunately. So everything stops over this side, and our bodies and our minds and our everything else, emotions, get into the heightened state of cortisol and adrenaline. And over long periods of time, that can cause a lot of chronic stress, can cause chronic illness, sleep disorders, overeating, undereating, anything that basically isn't in balance. Over here in rest, regeneration, recovery, and calm, stress-free life, things are in balance. When you're in flight, fight, freeze mode, they're not in balance, and I'm sure you can resonate with that. It's very difficult. It feels harder to get back on track. Now, all of this happens in the subconscious part of the brain. And the subconscious part of the brain governs about 95% of our brain power. That is a huge amount of brain power that happens behind the scenes. So anything that we physically and mentally want to change here in the conscious part of the brain has to go up against 95% of brain power, which is pretty tough. That's why tapping works, is because it bypasses the conscious mind and gets straight into the subconscious, goes straight to the amygdala and flips a switch. It's like flipping a switch and tells it that you're safe, even if you consciously know that you're not 100% safe, okay? But you can tell and trick your brain into believing that it's safe in order to switch off this flight, fight, freeze response. And that changes everything. It reduces the cortisol and the adrenaline in your body. It allows your cells to get back to this state of rest, regeneration, and recovery. Your anxiety levels will come down. Physical ailments might start to ease. You might start to feel more balanced, more grounded. All those nice things happen when you're in this state. You're able then to function better. You're able to make better decisions. You're able to support your family members. You're able to look after people in a much calmer, rational way and a grounded way, because your emotions and your hormones and everything else within your body are operating from more balance. So tapping, it sends a signal to the brain to switch off the flight, fight, freeze response. And the tapping that you do, so basically it is almost a combination of psychology and the physical notion of tapping. So this really dates back to 5,000 years ago when acupuncture and acupressure developed, and it works on the same principle. The points in the body that we tap also relate to the key meridian points that are used in acupuncture and acupressure. And I'll just talk you through the tapping points now. So first of all, we start off with top of the head. So if you tap along with me, you'll start to get used to the tapping points. Top of the head, so kind of in the center of the crown. And you're tapping 5 to 7 times per point. It's the start of the eyebrow here. Side of the eye. Under the eye. Under the nose. On the chin. Under the collarbone, so not the bone itself, more the fleshy part. This actually relates directly to your kidney and directly to anxiety. So even if you only could tap on one point, this would be it. If you could only physically reach one point when you're feeling anxious or fearful or out of control, this is it. Helps ground you. Under the arms, so kind of for women where the bra strap is, kind of midway through the torso. Then we get to the wrist points, so the hand points, there's the wrist. And then either side of the fingernail bed of every finger and thumb. So you're just tapping either side of the fingernail bed. Okay, that's it, and then you go back to the top of the head. There's another point which I'll explain now in a second. It's the karate chop point. Okay, so they're the points. The first thing you do when you want to do some tapping is you assess how you're feeling. This is purely to give yourself a number on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest negative state that you're in. Okay, so the goal is to take you from high up the 7, 8, 9, 10 scale down as low as we can. And basically you keep tapping until it comes down lower. So that's why you do a check-in at the start. If you have just experienced something very traumatic, like a car crash, but you're physically safe and you're in a heightened state of stress and you need to act fast, just start tapping on the top of your head. At that point, you almost don't even need to say anything because your body and your mind will be fully present in the emotional trauma that you're experiencing, okay? But when you're sitting down to do some tapping, or you're taking yourself away from your family or from people that you're looking after, taking yourself away maybe for 5-10 minutes to get some space and a breather, then you would start by tapping on the karate chop point. So then that's when you would do the kind of, I'm feeling between 1 and 10, and you do your setup statement with the karate chop point. So to recap, if you're really struggling and you're in the height of that emotion and you can physically tap on yourself and it's safe to do so, just start tapping. But if you're going to take yourself away to do a bit of work and have a bit of peace of mind and some time out, assess how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, and then you start tapping with the karate chop point and the setup statement. This is basically where you assess the emotion that you're feeling and where you're holding it in the body. Okay, so tuning in, am I feeling anxiety? So for anxiety, any emotion, anxiety, anger, pain, physical pain is you can use tapping on physical pain too, guilt, shame, anything trauma related, any emotion that you're feeling, frustration, anger, anything that you're feeling, assess where it is in the body. We all hold our tension in different places. Some people it's the head, the throat, the heart, the lower back. Sometimes they can feel it very physically. Sometimes when you're struggling to speak your truth, you feel like a chokehold on your throat chakra. Often the energy is actually held within our energy centers, which will relate to the chakras, which is also used in Chinese medicine and yoga and acupuncture, acupressure, and all sorts of other modalities as well. So tuning into yourself, you'll be able to see where you're holding that energy. If you also give it a color, it's really useful to assess what negative color that it is at the start and then see how it feels at the end. Because sometimes it can be like a black pressure, black weight on my chest, or it could be like a murky green or a grey color in your stomach, that kind of thing. So you use the sensation, you use how you're currently feeling to summarize. Basically, you're summarizing in your setup statement. And the construct is, you say, even though I feel all this emotion in my body, so even though I feel all this anxiety in my chest, even though I feel all this black anxiety in my chest, okay, so adding the colour in, black anxiety in my chest, because of all the stuff that's going on right now. So you're giving it a bit of context, if you have some, if you know what that is. I choose to love and accept myself anyway. Okay, I'll recap that. Setup statement, tapping here, the karate chop point, as if you're going to do a karate chop. And you say, even though, this is your construct, this way, even though I feel XYZ emotion because of ABC experience, I choose to love and accept myself anyway. So here you're saying and telling yourself it's okay to feel these emotions. It's okay. It's safe to feel them. And that's really powerful too. Okay, you do that 3 times. You say that sentence 3 times, and you can change that sentence so that the sentence is slightly different. It could be more exaggerated on the 3rd or 2nd time. You could explain more about the why, that kind of thing. So whatever feels good to you. To start with, probably best to just leave it as the same thing 3 times. Then you start tapping through, focusing on the negative emotion that you're feeling. Okay? So you're starting to talk about this black anxiety. This black anxiety in my chest. So much black anxiety. And just tap along with me now. Just get used to it. All this black anxiety. There's so much going on in the world right now. And there's so much going on in my life right now. And I'm finding it really stressful. Okay, so you're talking about the negative thing that you're feeling. You're also mentioning where in the body and the colour. And then the why. So imagine you're just talking to a friend about what's going on for you right now. And then just tap while you do that. It's really important to tap to release the negative side of things. So there is, we'll get to it, but there is positive tapping. So you can tap in positive affirmations that I believe get into the subconscious a lot quicker than just talking the affirmations on their own, so the positive statements. But in order for you to really successfully do that, you have to focus on the negative emotion first, because you're acknowledging that emotion. You're saying, do you know what, I see you, and yes, it is uncomfortable maybe that I'm having this emotion, but those emotions are there for a reason. They're there to tell you something. They're there maybe to slow you down. They're there to tell you something needs to change. So it's just giving you an opportunity to tune into that, acknowledging that emotion, but also saying, do you know what, I don't need that emotion in my energy field right now. We've got physical body, spiritual, emotional, mental body, and then a few more within our auric field. So our actual energetic field is like 6 feet around us in all directions. So we do absorb the energy of other people as well. Okay, so we've got our setup statement and we start tapping the negative. After you do a round or two of tapping on the negative, maybe you start to question some things. Maybe it's safe to let this go. Maybe I don't have to hold this black anxiety in my chest. Maybe I've held this anxiety for too long already. Maybe it's safe for me to let it go. Maybe my life will improve if I let this go. Letting this go doesn't mean that things aren't right and that things aren't scary. It just means I can move on without this emotion holding me back. Maybe I can't control what's going on all around me. Maybe it's okay to release control. Maybe it's okay to go with the flow. So you see what I'm doing there? Kind of questioning the possibility of letting go, and also maybe some of the bigger picture stuff. So for example, if someone had threatened your sense of self, like a boss had sent you an email criticizing your work, that would make you feel certainly would make me feel very nauseous and very threatened and very defensive. So, you could do tapping on that experience, and then you might get to the neutral state where you're thinking, well, actually, maybe they're having a really bad day. Maybe their comment is not all about me and my work. Maybe they've let some of their comments influence their email. So that kind of thing, you're kind of thinking about the big picture. Then you actively choose to let go. So you can say, I choose now to release all this anxiety from my chest. I choose to release and let go of all this black anxiety. I let go of all this black anxiety. I'm releasing all this black anxiety from my body now. I'm releasing all this black anxiety from any cell that it is stored. I choose to love and accept myself anyway. I choose to invite peace and love into my life instead. Okay, so we got to the point where we're choosing to release, and now we're choosing to feel something else. So I'm choosing to feel love and joy, or choosing to feel peace and calm, choosing to feel acceptance and forgiveness, choosing anything positive, choosing to love yourself. I love myself. Those kind of positive statements are super amazing to have programmed into the brain. Just remember that the brain is like a computer. You're just deprogramming something and reprogramming something else. Deprogramming negative, programming in positive. So that's it. Then at the very end of doing some tapping, this could be a couple of minutes, it could be 10 minutes, it could be 15 minutes, whatever you feel is relevant. And then you sense check yourself. So where am I on that scale of 1 to 10? How has it come down? Has the 10 come down? And if it's got to a 5, okay, great. Maybe if I've got more time, I can keep tapping. Try get it down further. What else is left? What's underneath that emotion? A really good, why we also give it a color and a location is because as you peel off the layers of the onion, the more layers will reveal themselves. So this black anxiety in my chest might be masking something else much deeper. It might be masking some red anger in my belly. Okay, so what you might find is that the energy will move, the emotion, the energy will move, and it will change color. So then you basically chase it. You chase the emotion, you chase the pain, and you keep going till you get down that scale as close to 0 as possible. Now, if you don't have time, and taking yourself from a 10 to an 8 feels great, or an 8 to a 5 feels fantastic, because it's so much better than where you were, and you don't have enough time, then that's brilliant. Just stop there. Come back to it another time. This is a very forgiving tool, which is just amazing to have and learn during this period of, flux and chaos and potential lockdown situations. You can do this by yourself. You can manage your own daily emotions and help the people in your family or the people that you're looking after with this tool. This tool can be used by any person, any age. I've had a 75-year-old client to come and release some of their trauma. You can also use it with children, so you can model the tapping and use their language. So if you feel, depends on what age and what's going on for them, you could just do some tapping yourself and just say, I'm so angry. I'm so angry at mummy right now. So angry, all this red anger. All this red anger at mummy. So angry right now. Even just doing something like that once or twice. You can also tap on them. If they're babies, you can actually put them on your shoulder and tap either side of their spine, all the way down, back up and down. It's amazing for releasing wind. I tapped with my son, just like really gently, from the age of about 4 or 5 months, just these eye points that I was able to reach while I was rocking him or soothing him, even feeding him actually. So just those main points. And then with older children, you could explain it, you could model it, you could help them do it. There's even something called a tappy bear, where you can tap on a bear and it still works. So it's kind of like they're associating themselves with the bear. You can Google it, the tappy bear or tapping bear or something like that. On my blog on tappingformums.com, there is tips for tapping with children if that's of interest for you too. Okay, so you now know how to do tapping. What we're going to do now is actually some tapping on the topic of overwhelm. So let me just get my script up here. And get yourself ready. You can take a drink of water. The water is important after you do tapping because you're releasing yourself from flight, fight, freeze back into rest, regeneration and recovery. And the water flushes out the toxins that you've been holding in the time frame that you've not been able to do both. So I hope that makes sense. It's like after a massage or something, you would feel really relaxed and they would always tell you to drink water. That's why they do that. It's to flush out the toxins. Okay, so we're going to do this on the topic of overwhelm. You may not feel overwhelmed right now, but I would just ask you to do this anyway. If you're feeling really overwhelmed, great. If you're, the words that I'm going to use are quite generic. The key to tapping is to be really true to what you're feeling and the why. So the more you use your own words in a tapping script, the more effective it's going to be. I have a general tapping script here on Overwhelm, which assumes generalized issues with Overwhelm. So you can tap through that with me and do it as I say it, or you can change the words as we go so that you are making it more personalized to you as we go through. Okay, so whatever you feel it works for you right now. Maybe you just want to tap through with me first, and then the second time you might do experiment a little bit more. Assess yourself on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst emotion that you feel right now. Sometimes it can help to write it down before you start so you don't forget. And then we do our setup statement. This is, even though I'm feeling all this negative emotion, whatever, and ending in I choose to love and accept myself anyway. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, really think about where in the body that is. Where are you holding it? What color is it? And is there any texture or tension or pressure, any weight to it? Anything that you can make it very personalized. When you do the setup statement, you incorporate how you are feeling into this setup statement. So if you feel more comfortable, just follow what I say. Or if you'd like to try it, you can include your own emotion in the setup statement, so that it's personalized to you today. Okay, I often start by just taking 3 deep breaths into the nose and out through the mouth, just getting grounded for the count of 4. You don't always have to do this. It's just nice as a signal to your brain that you're going to do something that's going to start relaxing it. Okay, so usually we say these tapping out loud, but you can say it in your head as well. I would advise you to say it out loud for the first few times, just so your brain and your body are getting used to this technique. So tapping on the karate chop point. Even though I feel so overwhelmed all the time, so you just repeat that to yourself. I feel like I'm drowning and I'm just not good enough at anything. But I choose to love and accept myself anyway. Even though I've got this heavy pressure of overwhelm in my chest. And I just feel so guilty all the time. Trying to balance everything and not being good enough at anything. I choose to love and accept myself anyway. And even though I'm afraid I will let people down all the time, that I won't be as good as they need me to be. And I feel so overwhelmed, like I'm drowning, with this heavy black pressure on my chest. I choose to love and accept myself anyway. Okay, I'm just going to go now to the top of the head. This heavy pressure in my chest. I just feel so overwhelmed. This weight of overwhelm in my chest. I'm trying to do so many things. There's so much pressure on me to be everything to everyone. I hate letting everyone down. All of this overwhelm in my chest. Under the arm. I try so hard all the time to make everything perfect. Wrist. I push myself so hard to get everything right. Thumb. I feel so guilty all the time. Guilty about working and not giving enough at home. Guilt in work for not giving more when my mind is at home. Guilt for not being and doing and giving more. I think of everyone all the time. Okay, back up to the top. All this overwhelm in my chest. I feel all this pressure on me. I take responsibility for everything. I do so much to keep our family going. Why is the responsibility always on me? Why can't I ask for help? Asking for help is not a weakness. Why do I never feel good enough? Surely everything I do is enough. I honestly don't know how I could give any more. Isn't what I give good enough when it's all I can give? I'm just so afraid of letting people down. But why am I so afraid? What would happen? It wouldn't be the end of the world if something went wrong. Maybe I'm just wanting control. Maybe this overwhelmed feeling is down to me wanting control over everything. Maybe being overwhelmed and in control isn't healthy for me right now. It's just making me stressed. And I'm not enjoying things the way I feel I should be. I can't relax, I'm just too stressed. I've pushed myself to do too much. I never feel good enough. But I'd like to let go of all this overwhelm. So I choose to release all this overwhelm in my chest now. I choose to release control of all situations. I cannot actually control all situations. All I can do is my best. And I give more than enough of myself. So if something goes wrong, it doesn't always have to be my fault. I let go of all this overwhelm in my chest and body. I feel this weight being lifted from my body now. I choose to feel proud about what I do. I choose to relax. I choose not to take on so much responsibility. I choose to feel good in asking for help. I choose to feel good enough. I am good enough. Everything I do is enough. I am so enough for everyone in my life. I feel calm and at peace and released. I choose to feel love for myself. I do love myself. I love myself. Okay, take a deep breath in. Assess how you're feeling in relation to how you felt at the beginning. So where are you on that scale now, 0 to 10? Has that emotion come down a little bit? Has the emotion changed? Is it in a different location, a different colour? Could you repeat this? Or do you need to do something else? Is there something else, another emotion that you need to work on to keep going, to keep getting yourself back down to 0? Just listen to your body, listen to what it's telling you, listen to what your emotions are telling you, and then you can let them go. And you're just following the emotion, following the pain. This is really useful for anxiety, fear, pain, so any physical pain, chronic pain, insomnia, struggling to sleep, and cravings, so relating to food or alcohol or cigarettes, the craving of a particular thing, overeating, emotional eating, blocks with doing exercise, blocks in your business, the limiting beliefs that you have that are holding you back. They can also be addressed and looked at using this technique. You can then start to program in things like, I am good at my business, I am abundant, I attract all the abundance the world has to offer. Where you can shift yourself from a feeling of lack and feeling of not good enough or not having enough to a feeling of abundance of joy, love and money. So many things you can do this with. You just need to start practicing. So you will receive, after this workshop, a tapping script template which really maps out for you how you set up your setup statement, and you can write down what you want to say, and then you can write down what you want to say for each point, and then go back and do the tapping. So spending a few minutes thinking about what you want to say is a really good way of getting confident in tapping. Because with me, I actually jumped on YouTube and I followed some YouTube videos before I felt confident to just start tapping myself and make up and tune in to what was going on within me. So if you feel like you want to maybe copy some YouTube videos, I have some on my YouTube channel, which is Tapping for Mums. And also there's loads of people out there doing amazing work with various different topics. So if you find yourself wanting to tap on a particular topic and don't want to do it by yourself, then you can search for someone else. If you sign up to my newsletter on my website, so www.tappingformums.com, you'll get a how to tap guide as well. You get links to videos, and the tapping script template will go through there too. So if you felt like you needed any support, tapping this, what I've taught you now, is amazing for any day-to-day emotions that you have. But if you have anything that is a bit bigger, any traumatic experience that you've had or that has been had in your family, and you think that you're still carrying some shock or trauma or really raw emotions relating to that, I would advise going to an EFT or tapping practitioner to help you, to support you and guide you through that, rather than tapping on yourself for those big topics. Okay, so for something big, I would advise you seeking some support. But for day-to-day things that are coming up for you, day-to-day struggles in your family, work or personal life, then tapping is an amazing tool that you can use right now for free, at home, anytime, anywhere. I mean, I've done it in the shower, in the bath, in the bathroom, while brushing my teeth, one-handed while driving. Probably not really good to recommend that. Walking down the street, I've just tapped on my finger points. I've tapped on this like this on the train to prevent nausea. Just start tapping. That is my biggest piece of advice. You'll feel how it feels to release and to shift, and that is really empowering, and then you can use it over and over for anything that crops up. And again, like I said, if you need any help, you can reach out to me or any other EFT practitioner. Most of us are doing things online now, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home and have a really powerful session to release what is blocking you and holding you back. I'm sending you lots of love. Thank you so much for watching this. I really hope that this has helped explain tapping, what it is, how to do it, and how to incorporate it into your life. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And I'm wishing you so much peace, joy and love and abundance to you and your family and everyone in your life. Take care.